of the city. Politics, progress, game boards, objects viewed like pawns to be change up our mindset. Value of the dollars at the center of this conflict. Their lives only matter if they serve to make a profit. But if a midget sees further on the shoulders of the giant, then we should see further than the tyrant and build a future within the alliance where success is our science in the quest to go higher. It's the heart of the city.
Wake up, world. Welcome to another episode of HeartCity TV. I'm your host, Malik Boyd. I hope that wherever you are, you're in good spirits and all is truly well. The show topic today, changing the world. We want to celebrate the change that we have been able to make and are striving to make one life at a time, because that is truly how it is done. Our guests are doing that in their everyday lives, and you'll hear their stories, how they're able to make an impact, and more importantly, how you can get involved and fine-tune the great work that you're doing in your corner of the kingdom. I am so excited about this show. It is the final show of my first 4 years as host of Heart City. This has been truly an amazing experience, sharing the laughter, the tears, the joy, the frustration. It's one that I could have never thought of for myself, but I am honored that we have spent 4 years together in this space. God has truly blessed me by being a part of this journey along with you, and I'm thankful for all of you for your support, your correction, your level setting, and your participation in the conversations that we have. We are excited also about the new phase of this show and the expansion of the Heart City brand. Next up is Kendall Chase. We'll talk more about the great work that she is doing as well. I am excited always when we talk to those who are doing kingdom work. They understand their role in kingdom and the community, and they're doing everything that is humanly possible to make sure that change happens in the footprint that God has entrusted them with. One such individual, you know him well. He is a mentor to me, my pastor, my bishop. His work goes far and wide, not just in the political space and the community, but also in the kingdom. 50 plus sons and daughters in ministry. 50 plus sons and daughters in ministry, and he is still moving like almost it's his first year in ministry. So it is clear that God has given him not only the wisdom, the increase, but also the strength to make the moves and do what is necessary for the kingdom. And it's always a pleasure having him with us, especially on this final episode where I am hosting. And so I want to give a warm welcome back home to none other than Bishop Reverend Dr. Stephen Avinger. Doc, it is always good to have you in the building.
God bless you, man. It is a pleasure for me to be here and to share with you. I shared with you at the beginning of this particular platform, and now here we are with you moving to make space for growth in this process of Heart City Radio. And so I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've achieved and what God is doing in your life. And just let me say, we celebrate Reverend Malik Boyd as 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, we ordained him into the gospel ministry, which God told us it was time. Certainly it was his season. And so I want to personally and publicly congratulate you for that elevation in ministry as you were ordained to the gospel ministry just a few short weeks ago. Congratulations, and God has great things in store for you, sir.
Listen, I appreciate you, Doc, your words of wisdom, your words of support and encouragement is truly needed. And when we talk about iron sharpening iron, I think it's important, especially for my generation. I know, guys, we are constantly frustrated with the thoughts and promises that were presented to us that may not have manifested. Then, you know, it looks like our generation was passed by. We went from testing the smartphone to now a generation coding and programming, and we're still trying to figure out how to you know, struggle and survive the middle management. Know this is those that have gone before you that have so many life lessons that are applicable to where we are right now, and it's important.
Lord knows
To make sure that you stick close to someone who is willing to share wisdom, willing to help you navigate those potholes, and make sure the car of your life does not end up in the body shop needing another framework. And that's what Bishop Stephen Avinger has been for me. And so I publicly give it right back to you, Doc. I am grateful that God placed me under your leadership and having the ability to learn and grow through you. Now, you've seen the issues, Doc. You've been around. You've seen at least 2 or 3 of the blocks that we stand on today. And so, you know, in the political space, in the community space, there's still much to be done.
Yeah.
You're dealing with the issues that really don't make the news, you know, and those things are near and dear to your heart. And you've been constant about providing resources to those who may not have a mainstream media story, but have a major issue in their lives. And so with all that you know, with all that you have experienced, I'm going to ask you, Bishop, to lead us into our 2-minute prayer for the city.
Absolutely. Father, in Jesus' name, we come to you today, God, recognizing that you are God and that you know all things. In fact, you know the end from the beginning. And so we want to thank you first for that. Thank you for keeping us, God, in the midst of not only this pandemic, but the killings that are going on, not only by police, but also, God, in our community, by each other. You know all about this, God, and you know the tenets of all of this, God, as people are backing away from the church, backing away from humbling themselves before you. And so, God, we pray that you would move by your spirit and that you would lift up our communities and lift up this nation, God, because we need you like we've never needed you before. We pray, oh God, that you would raise up a generation that makes sense of this and respond to it in the right way. And we pray, oh God, that we would remain available to you, that you would be able to use us to your glory, and that we would continue to be useful in your kingdom. Let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And we'll be so careful to give you praise. Now, bless this time that will be shared together in this forum. We pray that some heart might be blessed, some mind changed for the better. In Jesus' name, bless our host. Keep him, oh God. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Doc, I really appreciate you covering us in prayer. Talk about what's happening on your side of the kingdom. I mean, there's so much happening with the nation and Greater St. Matthew. For those who don't know, located right in Nicetown, in one of what we would all call a great opportunity neighborhood in Philadelphia, an opportunity to serve and grow and to spread the ministry. You have set out a very, very robust plan for the ministry. Talk about some of the events, the upcoming initiatives that all of us can get involved and help to create impact.
Absolutely. On this Saturday, as a matter of fact, we're talking about giving back to the kingdom. Tonight in Bible study, I'm going to be talking about stewardship. But this is a part of stewardship that we'll be doing on this Saturday. We intend to give out hundreds of boxes of food and what have you to those who have been affected in a negative way during this pandemic. People are suffering during this time, and so we want to give back. We want to not only get food out, but we want to continue in the testing process to make sure that individuals are tested. We'll be taking pressure and it's a combination of a food giveaway and a health fest and festival. And so we invite everybody to come. We are looking forward to the community coming out and getting what they need and getting what they deserve. And so we thank God for that. We are planning the New Day Interfaith Fellowship of Churches. We're planning our annual convocation coming up in June, and we're looking forward to a great time. The theme for that is forward, and what a timely theme for such a time as this, as we attempt to move forward. We've got a couple vaccination clinics coming up. We're working with the city's health department and the Black clergy of Philadelphia and vicinity to vaccinate some people in our community. You know, folk are hesitant, particularly in our community. And you know, if they say that people are hesitant in America, then that means Black folk are saying no.
Right, indeed. Hey, that's a very effective translation, Doc.
So we're going to help. We actually submitted an RFP with the city because we tried to become a 7-day-a-week clinic where people could come 7 days a week and get that thing done. We're wrestling with the city, you know, trying to do that. They're saying that our community is not being vaccinated, but when we submit a proposal to do just that, you know, we have to struggle with them to do it. And yet we're getting phone calls from Black clergy and from other entities, a drug company, pharmaceutical company, you know, asking us if we can, you know, open up our doors and if we can help vaccinate people. But when we submit a proposal to the city saying no, but everybody else is saying, can you please help us?
Right. Yeah, and that's
I can't. So
well, that's a major issue. We've got to get politics out of the way, right? And so if somebody's able to provide a very viable solution, and you know, if someone is able to talk to the neighborhood when clearly, you know, the machine known as the government is not, we've got to get our politics out of the way and say, if you can move us forward so we can develop whatever this new normalcy and new normal will be, then let's do it. Right. And so to the city and to those who are listening, I need you to hear what's happening in the space. Don't allow the media narrative to suggest that we are not actively working to ensure that we can get to a new normal in our neighborhoods. There are organizations, there are ministries that are saying we are prepared. And here's the big part. We're also qualified, right? We're not just taking deacons and saying, hey, deacon, you know, be soft with the needle and just jab it in the arm. No, we're talking about nurses, you know, qualified nurses, registered nurses that are on staff, ready to move. But we got to get the
doctor on staff. We had 50 nurses coming on. We had 10 churches that was coming on board. But you know, the city health department said, well, no. You know, whatever that means. But I know in our neighborhood, right, Nicetown, Tioga, we know that neighborhood is underserved. There's no other organization in that area that's providing a vaccination clinic. But the health department didn't see the need to provide this kind of resource that we were trying to provide, and so we're going to do it in another way. We're going to hook up with the Black clergy and help them to move their agenda along in terms of vaccinations. And we're partnering with a pharmaceutical company who asked if we were interested, and you know, so we'll do it one way or the other, but we're going to try and get our community vaccinated. So we're looking forward to that.
So broadcast audience, as that information goes out, you'll begin to see it on Heart City. I need you to spread the word for those who are in the footprint. And obviously now you know that Philadelphia has opened it up. And so everyone across the state, no matter your age, can get the vaccine. Here's the thing. I was very skeptical about the vaccine. I'll be honest. It took a minute. I never wanted to be the first one in line. I'll be honest with you on that. I don't want to be a test dummy on it. But I travel a lot. My parents went through COVID-19. All right. We stood the opportunity of losing my father to COVID-19. We just lost Paris Bowens, a young, talented musician for the kingdom, due to complications over COVID-19. And so it's not about me. It's if I can withstand it and my body is at least strong enough to fight against it, but carry it. I want to make sure that I'm not carrying it to someone that I love. I want to make sure that I'm not participating in spreading loss within our community. That's all this is about. That's all this is about.
And I certainly, I've been vaccinated, received both doses. And, you know, and I'm encouraging our community to do that. This is not a Black issue, right? This is a worldwide issue, right? Worldwide, right? India suffering like no other nation right now in terms of what's happening over there with this virus. And so our folks got to understand, you know, look, the Lord Jesus Christ created medicine, right? With the blind man, right? He spat, he took some clay, made a salve, put it on the man's eyes. Right. And then told him, go wash. Right. And he received the sight. And so, you know, this the same way the Lord said, bless your food before you eat it. When you get to the vaccine place, bless it and take it, right? Get you a shot. Right?
There you go.
And so that our community will not end up like India.
Indeed. And it's really important for those who may still be skeptical about the vaccine. You still have issues. We totally understand it. I get it. I am one in the number, constantly paying attention. You want to understand mRNAs and that process and the difference between the mRNA and other vaccine options. Those things are equally as important. Here's the thing. There are churches, ministries that are prepared and qualified to have that conversation with you, not meaning that your pastor is now doing double duty as a medical doctor. No, that means he has put in place a staff of doctors and nurses that are prepared to talk to you, walk you through it, and even suggest vaccination sites if you're concerned about which site to go to. All of that is available. And Greater St. Matthew is doing the work to do just that. Doc, you said May 1st, we're going to provide some food, 1,000 food baskets to those in need. Give the time and the location one more again.
We'll be at 1500 Blavis Street, and right down the street from the church, 1538 West Wingo Hocking. And I believe the time, I'm looking for that now.
I'll tell you. I'll tag me in, Coach. From 9 in the morning. All right, brothers will be there on the parking lot. All right, so feel free to show up 9 a.m. until you'll have all types of resources available. There will also be health professionals available as well to walk you through some of those same conversations we just talked about. And so, Doc, publicly, I love you, I honor you, and appreciate you for the work you're doing, not just for the body and the nation, but for the city and the country as a whole. Your work is largely underreported, but it is felt around the country, and I'm truly thankful for what God is doing in your life and the life of the ministry.
Amen. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being a part of what we're trying to do. God bless you.
God bless you, Doc. So we have now been covered in prayer by Bishop Reverend Dr. Stephen Avinger. Please make sure this Saturday you check out the Greater St. Matthew ministry and the work that they're doing. The ministry of health is so important. If you're not healthy, you can't do anything else. That's just how it works. If you're not taking care of this temple, you can't take care of any other temple or priority. Getting healthy, staying healthy is the first priority at hand. Greater St. Matthew is working to do just that this Saturday. We'll make sure that we post that information on our social media pages so that you can share. I'm going to a break. On the other side, we have Kiersten Hash and my brother, Rande McClain. He's going to join us for the EKG, and you'll hear about the great work he is doing in the community to make sure we deal with violence and the issues that we are facing in our community. Stay tuned. This is going to be an absolutely amazing show. You're watching HeartCity TV. We'll be right back.
You ready to see what $2.5 trillion in spending power can really do? You ready to pool these resources and rebuild our infrastructure?
You ready to support your sisters and brothers that are building businesses at record rates?
This what trust looks like, what love looks like, what us looks like, yeah.
You ready to give back to the culture that's given you so much? You ready to continue the legacy of Black economic excellence? You ready to work hard and play harder? You ready to let the Black dollar circulate?
This what trust looks like, what love looks like, what us looks like, yeah. New type of leveling, new type of excellence.
You ready for a banking platform designed for us to win?
¿Estás listo para unirte en nuestra colección de soñadores?
You ready for this marathon to continue? You ready to bet on Black for real? Then get ready for Greenwood.
New type of leveling, new type of excellence.
This is our time.
Yo, what's up? This is Will I Am, and you're watching HeartCity TV.
We're back. You're watching HeartCity TV. Shout out to everyone who's checking us out on the Facebook and our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your comments, your conversation, your inboxes this week. We are equally excited, not just in the expansion of the HeartCity brand, but our new host starting next week, Kendall Chase. Now, you know, I love this segment. EKGs are a special part of HeartCity, hearing from you and our guests, the perspective, your perspective on the issues of the day. We have never wanted to just report on the news and give you our slant. We always wanted to hear from you, get your perspective, but always push towards a solution. One of the things that we always strive to do is make sure that every walk of life from our community has amplification on their voice and are able to express themselves in the same medium that others are able to do so, especially our young leaders. We love when our young leaders are involved and a part of our process. We have one amazing young leader, Charlotte, North Carolina. Stand up. One of yours is in the building, Kiersten Hash. She's doing amazing work. Her organization, Queens for Change. She's doing tremendous work in making sure that we are able to advocate for the right things and make a change in our community. And so without further ado, I want to welcome to HeartCity, Kiersten. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just so excited to be here and, talk about some of the things that are important to me.
So let's dig in really quickly before we bring in Rande. Queens for Change. That's not just a cool t-shirt slogan or a hashtag. That is a movement that you have created and been able to grow, not just in the North Carolina area, but quickly expanding across the platform. Talk about Queens for Change, its mission, and how we can support you.
Yes. So in 2019, I founded Queens for Change, essentially as an organization to uplift and empower young Black girls in my city. So I really did see that Black girls needed a network and needed a support system, and I wanted to create that. So since 2019, we've hosted panel discussions, service events, and a purpose walk. to highlight the issues facing Black youth and ultimately to give back to our community.
So
yes.
there's one piece that you are working on now, the Crown Act. And many may not know about this Crown Act, but you have brought together women from all walks of life to really galvanize around this issue. Talk about the Crown Act, what you're doing through Queens for Change, and how we can get involved.
So the Crown Act was essentially created in 2019 as a piece of legislation to ensure protection for natural hairstyles. And that transcends, just typically wearing your hair in an afro and curls, but it covers locks, twists, braids, any protective styles that typically you'll see Black girls wearing or Black women wearing in the workplace and in schools. So this act is to prohibit that discrimination in schools and in the workplace. And right now it's been passed in quite a few cities and states, but it hasn't been passed in North Carolina. So with Queens for Change, I have essentially created a public awareness campaign to ensure that that happens.
So it may not look like it currently, but I had some hair some years ago. All right. So I had 2 sets of locks that came down to my shoulders. I remember the looks that I would receive going into the workplace around my hair. Even, being told, look, even if you want to run for office, understand the demographic may not feel comfortable with you having locks. But cut your hair and get a shape up and kind of look like the Black man that we think is safe and comfortable, and maybe you'll be able to be successful. Those things have been embedded into our culture for a very long time. This freedom to be able to express ourselves through our hair in many ways is not just cultural, but spiritual for some and very emotional for us all. Talk about the impact of this work as you're going around the state, as you're going throughout the community, talking about this freedom and hair expression and making sure that we don't have barriers to success because we chose to be free.
So ultimately, it spoke to me because I do cherish my natural hair, but also because it speaks to the larger issue of African Americans and other marginalized groups not having the space to be human and not having the space to be their authentic selves. And when you have people that have to get their locks cut in school competitions because it's deemed unprofessional, or Black women and men having to conform their hair and get heat damage and chemical damage for the sake of looking professional, when that's all in a Eurocentric lens, it's something that's become very crucial to me going forward to dismantle. And I felt like the Crown Act was the perfect way to ensure that we're able to be ourselves in these places of work and in these places of education.
I think what you're doing is really phenomenal. I'm looking at some of the comments. So Peyton on YouTube said, that's amazing. We agree, Peyton. This mission and what Kiersten is doing is absolutely amazing. Sonia Sessoms says, come on, Queens for Change.
Thank you.
We agree, Sonia. Jontel Worrell says, look, robbing us of our natural authenticity at young ages. We remember the young Black male wrestler who was told he could not wrestle unless his locks were cut. I mean, a referee who had nothing to do with this man's hair. It did not even fit within the parameters of the athletic association. And so what you're doing to some, and I want them to understand, they may think that it doesn't amount to much, but what you're doing is dealing with some of that undercurrent that allows other policies to take place. I mean, we can say all day long that there's no discrimination at the employment form, and we've banned the box and all of these things, but if this spirit is enabled inside of other elements, we will always have this challenge, always have these hurdles. And so Crown Act is the first, but what's next for these amazing queens who are determined to make change?
Yes. So just going forward, really, I do want to focus on some of the socioeconomic inequities that are so apparent in my community, and also looking towards ways of making sure that we feel safe in our communities. And I am devastated by what occurred in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And I remember in 2016 when Keith Lamont Scott was killed in a police interaction, and I was only in 8th grade, but the trauma and the suffering that our people have felt and are continuing to feel in these situations, it's so exhausting. And knowing again that this is happening so close to my community, I just feel compelled to act. And I hope that young people that feel the same way know that there's so many ways to get involved in grassroots organizations, signing petitions, donating to these organizations, speaking at local council meetings, and really using your voice, because right now we are in the middle of a pandemic where African Americans are disproportionately affected. We're seeing, these continuous interactions with law enforcement who are supposed to protect and serve, and clearly seeing that these systems are not built for us. And we have to do the work to make sure that they become inclusive and they are constructive rather than destructive. So I definitely want to look forward to that as I continue my work.
You are absolutely spot on. I'm excited to hear some more of your wisdom and perspective for our EKGs. I'm going to bring in another individual who's going to join us. This is my brother, Rande McClain, one of the most insightful, purpose-driven community activists that we have in the area. Rande, welcome home to Heart City, bro. It's great having you with us.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. All the kind words, brother. How are you today?
Listen, the lights are on. I got 2 pieces of chicken in the fridge. That's half the battle, brother. It gets easier as you get older,
I understand, brother.
It's the little things, but I'm excited about you. I'm excited about the work that you're doing. Kiersten just talked about this amazing effort of Queens for Change, making sure that queens across the board and young people have a amplified voice on the issues that matter. You're doing the same. You're bringing all walks of life together to deal with this issue of violence. Kiersten talked about police interaction. You had a very personal interaction that had nothing to do with officers.
Yes.
It happened right in our community. And as a result, not only did your life change, but you are now dedicated to making sure that what happened to you doesn't happen to others. Talk about very briefly what happened to you in this walk and mission and movement that you're on now.
So at the age of 10, I got shot in the head about 9:30 in a good community, Mount Airy. Yeah. I was rushed to the hospital and I died on the scene. 2 minutes and 17 seconds. I was in a coma for six weeks. So I was brought back to life, and I think I am ready to give myself back to the community. 10 years, I fought therapy 6 days a week. I couldn't walk. I couldn't talk. I used to be right-handed. Now I'm left-handed.
Wow.
So now my city is crying for help, and I think I'm the man to answer their questions.
Wow. I have had the honor to walk with you.
Yes.
Through that neighborhood, our first march. Standing in the same place where you were shot. There's nothing like, and we've never had a chance to really talk about that, but there's nothing like standing next to your brother, standing next to someone you love and care about, looking at the place by which essentially their life was put in jeopardy.
Yes.
And watching you have the resilience and love to not only overcome that moment, but to love on brothers that you know are still on the block, loving brothers that you know are still holding work, still, doing some things that would affect our community in a very challenging way. What do you say to the ones that are still out there, the ones that are still putting in work, allowing their emotion to get in the way of the evolution of our community?
I tell them, get with me, brother. We can do this together. All the violence, it's just anger. They need somebody to talk to, and I'm the one to talk to. But I need other people to stand by me. I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
I can't do it by myself. And Philadelphia is a large city.
Yeah.
But there's other victims like me that need to stand up. I know they're afraid. I was afraid too, brother, for 10 years. I couldn't come outside. I was afraid. People used to tease me, but now look at the man I am today. So I want to share my story to the whole Philadelphia and maybe to the world one day. This violence needs to stop.
Listen, I think your message is absolutely on point. You are the man that I believe God has chosen to assist in leading that effort and amplifying it. Kiersten, I feel the same about you. Your work, your impact. We need leaders from all walks of life who all have different stories and different experiences, but are bound by love for the community, love for forward motion and progress. I think that there's so much to be done, not just in North Carolina. There's going to be ways for us to galvanize around you, Kiersten, and support Queens for Change and the Crown Act. And then there's also ways for us to bring North Carolina to Philadelphia, to get behind Orondre and the work that's being done. We don't have to do this thing in a silo. We can support everything. And so I'm excited to hear about your voices and your perspectives on the EKG. Are both of you ready for the final EKG of my hosting time here at HeartCity?
So I want to just give a point out. On Friday,
yeah,
I'm having a stop the violence march.
Mm-hmm.
We need our city back. That's the name of the march. Broad and Olney,
wow.
At 6 o'clock, we're marching to Broad and Olney, to your first home, brother, the Blue House.
Yeah, the Blue
Broad
House.
and Huntington Park.
Yeah.
So I need everybody to come out, and we're taking our city back.
Wow. Let's go do it. We're going to talk about that on the other side of the EKG as well. Broadcast audience know we'll also support it by promoting it on our social media, and we will be in attendance. Let's go to our EKGs.
This is the EKG, the part of the show where we place America front and center on the monitors of the American people. We will look for irregularities in the heartbeat, offer solutions on the issues we find in order to make America healthy once again. So fire up the machine. Let's start the EKG.
So our EKGs are brought to you by Deshuri CBD products. Make sure you check them out at my Deshuri, DASHURI.com. Our first story, Kiersten, Orondre, this one is quite interesting. An Ohio bar owner refuses to play NFL games inside of his bar until LeBron James is expelled from the league. Now, you know, this is blowing my mind. Lynn's Pub in the Cleveland, Ohio area. This is challenging. Now, LeBron said, anger, this is a tweet that he made, anger does any of us no good, and that includes myself. Gathering all the facts and educating does, though. My anger is still here for what happened to that little girl. My sympathy for her family and justice, and may justice prevail. I mean, this is LeBron speaking out about the issues of the day as he's always done. And so even when the bar owner said, look, I'm done with this guy because I want him expelled from the league, LeBron tweeted out, oh, damn, I was just headed there to watch our game tonight and have a drink. Well, such is not the case. And so, Kiersten, here's my question. It's so great to see athletes speak out about these social justice issues, right? They also have the ability to insulate themselves. They have the resources. They have the amplified voice by millions of Twitter followers or Instagram followers. How do we protect our young people like yourself, our young leaders who are prepared to speak out equally as strong as LeBron, who are speaking out equally as strong as LeBron on the issues, but don't necessarily have the insulation to protect themselves from business owners and those that try to bounce bite back with what you're saying. What do you need from us to protect you when you speak out and support us in these issues?
I would definitely say the best thing that our older generations can do is just rally around our young people, but also listen to them. There are so many issues that we have a particular insight on because of our formed experiences. And sometimes, you know, it might vary from what the older generations have always been taught from, you know, decades of internalized messages from these systems that have been, you know, pushing out stereotypes or things that are just untrue. So I would just ask that you all continue to uplift us and support us, but also listen to us. And on the note of this story in general, I think it's very interesting being a student athlete myself, seeing how, you know, Black individuals are used as entertainment, but when we want to speak about the issues affecting us, then it's up in arms and we're not able to speak about that. Then it's shut up and dribble. So it's interesting how our talent and the ability to entertain is extracted, but you don't want to see us in our humanity.
Orondre, what were your thoughts when you saw, you know, this article? I mean, you experienced some of this in the same way, where organizations and sometimes even the city only wants to use you when it fits the press conference that they want.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You want to use me, but I can't say what I want. That means I'm not going to play for you.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous to me. So I tell LeBron, keep doing what you're doing, brother. Don't worry about the outsiders.
So let me ask both of you, from your vantage point, where are we? We're still going through COVID. I was going to say we've survived COVID. We have not. We still have many more vaccinations and much to go before we're back to some semblance of social interaction that look like normal. In many ways, we won't have another normal the way that we thought it was. And so, Kiersten, your generation has such an advantage because you came in technologically savvy. My generation is still trying to figure out how to make the proper boomerang video on Instagram and how not to mess up our TikTok video. And you guys are already utilizing these platforms to leverage messaging. Where are we in terms of readiness for change? We talk about change all the time, but where are we in terms of having the tools to be prepared for the change that we seek?
So I guess for me, it depends on the lens. Of course, after the last summer, seeing everything that occurred with Black Lives Matter and how the movement was watered down, how the movement was commodified by corporations, and the ways in which our message was corrupted, it did make me a bit upset. But then you see the work that people are doing in these local communities. And I really implore everyone to find a network within your local community to create real change, because of course it's going to be difficult when you're working against a federal system or you're trying to create change federally. But if you really do want to get involved in local organizations, I think that's a great way of creating, you know, very solidified change. And that's what's continued to inspire me. But in terms of, you know, some of the inequities that we're seeing, of course, you know, with the administration change, there's been some movement, but we have to keep pushing and we have to keep pressure on all of the legislators, local, state, federal, that do have the power to give us what we need and keep us clothed and give us houses and give us food, because they have the resources. We just have to keep pushing.
So, Kiersten, I just want to tell you, I'm excited about you. The fact that you even had that, you know, I have to say this sometimes to folk who call themselves politicos, who say they're in the game and don't understand the concept that, you know, all change is local and it begins locally. Like all politics are local. Change begins locally. It's the local folk we can yell about the federal all day long. You know, Biden's not in Philly, like he's not on Shelton Avenue, he's not on 52nd Street, right? How it happens. He's not where you are in Charlotte. I mean, he may slide through, but he's not going to be in those neighborhoods. And so it's the local electeds that can make the change, that we have to make sure that they're concerned about our issues, not just placating our feelings and not just showing up in our churches on Sunday, you know, to tell us that God is good. We already know God is good. We're asking you to be good, be a good legislator and get some things done. And so, Orondre, you're in a space where you're dealing in the local issues. Yes, Philadelphia has a high gun rate, a high murder rate. We were outpacing New York at some point. I believe we still are currently at this broadcast moment. And so there's tons of work to be done. But yes, it's a federal issue. It's happening in Chicago. It's happening in Atlanta. It's happening in all these other municipalities. But local matters. Yes. As an organization that's on the ground dealing with local electeds, talk to others who are dealing with challenges and I'll just call them opportunities to fine-tune their relationship with the local electeds. How do they need to move in order to create the tools that make us ready for change?
I think we need to all get together locally. Don't do Sundays. Go to Bible study on Mondays or Wednesdays. Not go to the local stores. Go to the local parks where the children are playing. That's my spill. I think we can go everywhere. Don't do Sundays. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. Go everywhere. That's my spill.
Let me ask both of you a question. And Orondre, I'll throw this right back on you, and then Kiersten, I'll come to you and drive this home. For much of the change that we need, a lot of it is a change of heart. If we don't have a heart change, much else won't change. But we want other hearts to change. We want people to be softer towards our issues, softer towards our challenges, equity, you know, and parity in certain spaces. But Orondre, forgiveness is also a part of our ability to move the dial forward and to create the space of love and growth that we need. You had something happen to you that many don't understand. Even though we have a high rate of shootings, there are many that have never been shot, many that have never been shot at. These stories are almost mythical in nature because they may be so isolated from such circumstances. But when you're shot, your mindset shifts.
Yeah.
Things change, and you know more than I will ever know at this point. And so talk about forgiveness. Were you able to forgive the individual who shot you? Because sometimes we come out of it and we're angry and we're just, I'm mad that this happened and I just got to get all this out of my system. And it never really leaves the system. Has the anger left the system? Have you been able to forgive? What was that process for you?
It left my system a long time ago. For me to move forward, I would have to forgive. If I could see the person that shot me, I would tell her, you go on that block and I go on this block, and we'll bring the people together to make this work. I don't have no problem forgiving the person that shot me. Actually, I want to meet them because the people they hang around with, maybe they can share what they've been through. Because, okay, I got shot, I'm the victim. People don't understand the person that pulled the trigger, they got trauma also.
Wow.
You shot somebody, you're going to have trauma. Maybe it's now or it'll be in the future. So I would like to talk to them and see what we could come to. Maybe we could have a partnership together.
Wow. You know, I'm looking at the Facebook and YouTube feed. Sonia Sessom says, that's so honorable, sir. I'll tell you, Sonia, you know, honorable is just one of the many words that we can use for that kind of statement. Many of us, you know, we look at individuals that go through these kind of challenges and we can't even begin to fathom what it's like to to tell someone who shot us, who tried to change our lives permanently, you know, hey, I forgive you.
Because if I'm angry, that means my family is angry. That means the world is angry. That means I am able to try to retaliate on that person. I don't want that. No, there's too many people dying. I lived for a reason. Hey, it's okay. All right, you shot me, but hold on. Let's talk about it. Who was you shooting at? Are you that angry?
Wow.
No, so that's my spill on it.
You know, it's crazy, Rande. I see organizations and individuals forced. I don't think they are forced. I think they force unforgiveness into the space for much less.
Yes.
People not speaking to each other right now. We've unfriended half of our folk from Instagram just on political differences alone. I mean, these are people that we just shared breakfast and lunch with, but then a post comes up that we don't like. And Kiersten, we're now like unfollowing them on Twitter and, all the craziness. So Kiersten, our young folk have the ability to kind of work past some of the mental roadblocks that we have at our age. We're a little bit set in our ways. I don't really want to say that, but Kiersten, I'm telling the truth. It happens that way. So give us some lessons, make us more educated in the space of not only just forgiveness, but being able to work together despite differences, because that seems to be the bulk of where a lot of this activity is coming from in our communities that has changed it for the worse.
Yes. And first I want to say, Mr. Orondre, your story is inspiring, and I really commend you for the work that you're doing in your community. It's just really heartwarming to see your story manifest, and I really just can't wait to see what you do next. I do think as a young person and as a young Black woman, being in my cohort, you really understand the depths of what forgiveness is. You know, we face some of the hardest marginalization as women facing sexism from our own community, as African American individuals facing racism from all communities. Yet we're still on the front lines for these social movements. We're still on the front lines in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, even when, our own community might degrade us or just not protect us. We're still on the front lines for other people of color and their movements, even in these communities, they may have anti-Blackness. And I think that it's so important that, looking towards more equitable frameworks going forward in social movements or in whatever you may have, you're looking towards the individuals that have been, in these positions of having to forgive for the sake of the greater good and for the sake of pushing forward and creating progress. So I'm blessed to, be a Black woman in this space and having those experiences and seeing the community that's been fostered by my cohort. I also think that in the real world and in these huge political situations, of course, it isn't useful for us to harbor resentment. However, our anger fuels progress. And I always encourage, marginalized individuals not to remain complacent in these systems, because we have so much work to be done. And whether it's inter-community violence or state violence, there's so many people dying, as Mr. Orondre said, so many people suffering, and we just cannot become quiet because we feel like it's not affecting us, or we can't become complacent because we feel like the problems seem impossible. So I just encourage everyone, whether you're young or old, no matter what race, gender, anything, that you always have to keep pushing forward, always look towards marginalized communities for what they are trying to say and listen to their voices. And I do want to say one note about the Crown Act. So unfortunately, there is a deadline for this act. It's currently in committee in the North Carolina State House and Senate. It's in the Rules Committee in the Senate and the Judiciary 2 Committee in the House. But by May 13th, if it doesn't get moved to the State House or the Senate floor, then it's not going to be able to become an act, and it's going to die in committee. So if we don't get this act, if we don't, email and write to our representatives in these committees, they probably won't be able to file it again until 2023. So anyone that would like to become a part of this movement, please lean towards these grassroots organizations, because we want to make sure that this act is implemented to protect Black individuals so they can be authentic in their spaces.
And I want everybody to understand, 10 letters to an elected official doesn't really mean anything. They'll file it away as a bump in their administrative corridors. When you see 100 letters come through, they go, okay, something's going on, but I'm not sure if this is an automated mail-out campaign. So maybe we'll pay attention to it. I'll put a thumbtack on it. When you start seeing 500, 1,000 letters going towards an elected official, they get scared. You know why? Because if they don't deal with it, they know those 500 to 1,000 can be the difference between their reelection or not. And so I'm asking you, don't just tweet about it. Tweeting is sexy. I get it. You can tweet them and hashtag them all day long. That's cool. But put a letter out. Make some phone calls. You've got to make those individuals who are answering the phone, those legislative aides, you got to get them in action and let them know this issue is important enough for me to write about it. Send you a letter, to make a phone call and deal with you running me through press 1, press 3, press 2 until I get to you. But when I get to you, I'm equally as passionate about it because I want that change. If you do it that way, what Kiersten is talking about, you'll be able to make a difference and ensure that this act becomes an act indeed and out of committee in its proper format. Kiersten, you're a rock star. You are an absolute rock star. We are excited. North Carolina, you guys should be insanely happy about the young leadership that you have in Kiersten Hash, and her future is so bright. So for those who are in the area, support her. Those who are watching the broadcast, tweet her or reply to the TikTok or whatever. I don't know. Do something really cool to let her know that you support her, that you are behind her and Queens for Change. Hashtag that out as well and support Queens for Change. Now, my brother Rande, look, man, you are on the grind. I need the world to know my brother is doing it on a daily basis. This isn't a hashtag for him. This isn't some cool thing to go get money from the activities fund here in Philadelphia. This isn't a nonprofit to take resources and go get a car and a house and go move to the suburbs. My brother is on the block, inside the community, in the spaces that are challenged every day by these issues. He's back on the same block where the incident that changed his life happened. Why? Because he wants to make sure that your children never experience those things. Orondre, talk about, again, this walk. Let them know the details, when it's happening, how they can get involved, get in support of it, and if you can attend, where they can send resources to support the mission.
Right. So April 30th, 5:45, across from, in front of Girls High. 45. Bring your posters, bring anything. You want to just put your hands up and shout and walk down the street with me. Let these people know you want your streets back.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, I was allowed to be on the block. And the next door neighbor said, hey, it's time to go in the house. Now people are afraid. So we're going to walk to Border Park. It's about 2.5 miles. And let them know that we want our cities back. If I have to do it every day until I get 2,000-3,000 people to walk down Broad Street, I will, and I won't stop. I should have been the last person that got shot in the head. But the McClain Foundation is not going to stop. We're not.
Wow. You just said something that really hit home. You said I should have been the last person shot in the head. That shows a major opportunity for all of us to fine tune this. And I'm sure that each individual that is going through a challenge like that feels like they should be the last person. This when do we get serious about really changing the landscape? It begins now. And so we're going to make sure that we post that information on our social media pages. We are behind Brother Orondre and the work that he's doing. We are going to be out there with him in solidarity. If you have a poster, as he said, bring your poster. If you just want to bring another young man to show them that we can all come together for things beyond sports, things beyond entertainment. It's beyond just showing up for, a comedy show or a concert. We can all come together to make change in our communities, and letting all of us know, whether you're in South Philly, North Philly, West Philly, the Northwest, know that you can all come together for one purpose: to enjoy life, to have it and have it more abundantly. Isn't that why we're here to begin with in the first place? Kiersten, you're a rock star. I'm gonna keep saying it. I'm just gonna let you know that our timeline is all the way from Constant Hash to Kendall Chase and Sonia Sessoms. Shout out to Harry Mobley Jr. who joined in as well. We need you to know we are behind you too. We support you. We believe in you. And this is just the beginning, the early chapters of what will be an amazing legacy that we know you're going to leave with the world. Thank you, Kiersten, for all that you do.
Thank you.
Orondre, I'll definitely see you, man, at this march. And again, thank you for all that you do for our community as well.
Thank you, brother.
So you've heard from Kiersten and Orondre, two amazing individuals who have very different stories, nonetheless have the same mission mandate to make sure that our people have life, have it more abundantly, in support of the freedom of expression, in support of the freedom of our culture, in support of the freedom to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without worrying about being shot in our neighborhoods. We've got to put the guns down. That doesn't mean that you don't protect yourself and your family. That simply means that my anger and my frustration will not end up in killing my brother, because it's bigger than that. I can get through this. I can figure this out. There's no need to end your life. We've got to get better. We've got to do better than what we've done. We can't complain about misconduct and not deal with what's happening here in our own streets. And yes, that's not to say that police misconduct is not a warranted issue to address and to challenge. Yes, we are absolutely going to deal with each and every case that deserves all of our energy. At the same time, we got to stop putting teddy bears up on the corners because somebody was a hothead. We got to stop shooting into innocent cars and taking away someone's mother, someone's father, leaving children parentless because we're angry about something that really didn't amount to a hill of beans at the end of the day. Our frustration became rage, and then it became an irate action that took us out of character and then took someone's life out of position. Come on. It's time to do something different. And that is part of our Heart City expansion and the work that we will be doing as Kendall goes into this hosting chair. I'm going out into the community to continue the work and increase what we have done over the last 4 years and beyond, to ensure that the footprint remains strong and that we're actually really hearing from the community. We never want to be the media outlet that is just reporting on the issue and not inside of the solution. I am excited about what Orondre and Kiersten are doing. Please make sure you support them, love on them by supporting them. Be there, show up, give them what they need, because support is absolutely crucial at times like this. I'm going to a break, and on the other side, in our second hour, you're going to hear from Clarence and Will Little. These two brothers have an equally amazing story and are doing some tremendous work to bring not only love back into their situation, but to spread love, brotherhood, and unity and restoration throughout our communities. I love these brothers, and I'm excited to hear their story. I know you will be too. On the other side, some more Heart City TV awaits. We are changing the world one life at a time. We'll be right back.
Philadelphia OIC fights poverty with education and job training. OIC will prepare you for a career with good wages. Learn about free training programs at philaoic.org or call 215-236-7700. We operate a safe environment with masks and social distancing. For a better tomorrow, call Philadelphia OIC.
We're back. You're watching Heart City TV. For those who checked us out in the first hour, thank you for joining us. This is an equally as important hour. For those who are just tuning in, know that we talked about changing the world one life at a time. Kiersten Hash and Rande Mclean joined us and talked about the amazing work. Kiersten in North Carolina and Charlotte, North Carolina, doing tremendous work around the Crown Act through her organization, Queens for Change, and Brother Rande McClain doing amazing work to ensure that the gun violence, the violence against each other, is dealt with in our communities. His march is going to be from Philadelphia High School for Girls all the way down to Prince Hall, Masonic Temple on Broad Street right here in Philadelphia, where we broadcast from. I need everyone who is listening. If you know someone in Philadelphia, I need you to pass that information. We're going to post it on our social media pages. Get them out. We need everybody behind Orondre and the great work that he is doing. If you're in North Carolina, you know someone in North Carolina, your grandmoms and them, your aunties, let them know Queens for Change is doing tremendous work in the space to ensure that we have a better quality of life and that we are free to express ourselves in our culture in many ways. These two individuals that I'm getting ready to talk to have an amazing story. I don't even want to spoil the issue, but I'll tell you very simply. One brother made a decision to take the life of the family member of the other brother. That could have ended up in retaliation that would have wiped out a whole neighborhood, family and friends going back and forth, taking each other out in endless retaliation. They ended up meeting, and their lives were changed forever, not just from that incident, but from the love that they were able to develop for each other, the partnership and bond that they were able to create, and more importantly, the mission that they are on. Clarence, Hatton, an amazing brother in his own right. He's also known as Abdul, Qaadir. He is with us today, an amazing community activist who's doing tremendous work in the space, and Brother Will Little, who his work is beyond words. The work that he has done, not only to bring restoration to the community and work with Brother Qaadir, but to move the dial around the mindset and the heart issues that we face that challenge our community. Both of them are unparalleled in that work, and I am excited to have both of them with us today. Welcome home, my brothers. Will and Qaadir, look, I'm gonna tell you straight up, your stories are amazing. Abdul, I honor you for your strength, brother. It goes without saying that forgiveness is one of the key areas to healing, and so I'm excited to hear your story. And Will, bruh, I look up to you, man, and I'm telling the world publicly, I look up to you and the work that you're doing. It is so needed in our community, and if the both of you were not doing this work, I think the world would be a much worse place. So I honor you both publicly, and I want to let you know that we celebrate you. So welcome home.
Thank you.
To Heart City.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna start. I think I want to start with you, Abdul. Forgiveness is very real, but it's also very elusive in our community. We talk about it, and it's good for a press conference, but not always applied to the issue at hand. You were put in a very unique space to be able to provide forgiveness. Talk about what happened that brought you to that moment. Can you hear us, Brother Abdul? I think he might be having a little bit of challenges. Will, I'm gonna go to you first.
Okay.
Talk about the situation that brought the two of you together. I mean, in many ways, this could have ended up differently, but you chose to move in a different way in restoration, and Brother Abdul chose to move equally in the space of forgiveness.
Right. So, it started years ago, a few decades back, as a teenager in the streets, hustling, selling drugs, and got into altercations. And one of those altercations was with Clarence's brother, whereas though we was in a kind of shootout type of thing.
Yeah.
And Clarence's brother was one of the guys that was hit, along with another guy too. And that day actually changed my whole life, basically. I was kind of lost on the street, period. Angry little kid, just like the younger people out there today, and dealing with the same dilemmas, trials and tribulations in life in general. And when I was arrested for the charge, I was charged with 5 different charges, major charges, that kind of seek the death penalty at first, but then they were seeking life for me to be in prison for the rest of my life. And during that time, I sit back and reflect on my life as a 19-year-old kid and just try to figure out, what happened, how my mentality changed the way it has, how I gave up on life and didn't have respect for myself or life in general. And then I started, digging a little deeper, transforming my life in prison because I had a son. He was born and he became my why. So basically, I knew that I had to do a lot of self-reflection, a lot of forgiveness of myself and other people. And I went on that journey, of just changing my life and putting more work in to myself opposed to anything else. And eventually it gradually grew. My mindset gradually grew. And the years I spent in prison, 10 years I spent in prison, was all working on myself. So I kind of turned the state penitentiary into my Penn State and just educated myself because I know I was going to get back out in the street again. And I didn't want to fall victim to the same lures of the streets, or had that same mentality. That is my story. So I continued to do that work when I was out there, going back to the same schools, going back to my same neighborhood, going back into prisons and speaking in the prisons and teaching and just continue to educate myself and learn more to add more value and to add more value to people because I knew that we were a lost generation. I knew that a lot of things that are afforded to other ethnic groups and youth, we wasn't afforded that opportunity. And the best way to challenge that is to basically educate myself, to educate others, and help them navigate through the same trials and dilemmas that I was dealing with as a young kid growing up in a single-parent home. So as I continued that work throughout the city of Philadelphia, Clarence has had his own ideas, his own feelings, his own emotions that he was going through as well, and I kind of knew that. Even though I didn't know him yet, I didn't know who he was, but I kind of knew that he was out there in the streets, in the community, seeking revenge at one point or a time or another. But I continued to stay on the path. I mean, I didn't want to get deterred from doing the things that I know that I promised myself to do once I got out to try to make up for, the bad things I've done in society and in the streets and the people that I affected through my ignorance. Went on to that journey all the way up. I was working in the barbershop for, I've been working in the barbershop for like 20 years, but at the time it was like 15 years that I was working in the barbershop. Clarence knew of me working in there pretty much because ironically, his cousin is the owner of the barbershop, Wow. So I've been working in the barbershop for like 15 years at the time. And then all the work I was doing, getting in the paper, the front news, the daily newspaper, Fox 29. So all this work I'm doing, he's actually seeing, he's kind of seeing his work. His other people in the neighborhood are seeing the work that I'm doing, seeing that I'm a changed individual that now kind of found my way after being lost in those teenage years. And then he took the initiative, to walk into the barbershop one day and make himself known, make his presence known and make his presence felt. So Before I didn't know who he was. I thought he was a customer coming in, you know. So I was like, give me a minute, let me get my stuff together because it was kind of early in the day. And when he said, you know, I want to talk to you, you know, I thought kind of was like I cut one of his son's hair or something like that, or messed his hair up. I mean, I thought it was on some note like that. But then as we approached each other, and he looked at me eye-to-eye contact, the first words that came out of his mouth was, "I forgive you." You know, and as soon as he said that, it impacted me. I knew exactly who he was. I knew why he was forgiving me, you know. So it kind of hit me right here in my chest and my heart, and I was like, thank you. I mean, showing appreciation to that, because I know it's a hard thing to do, especially coming up in the streets where we come up at. We are both from the streets. We're both are street dudes. You know, we already know the rules of engagements in the streets. Right. I mean, and to become men, to be able to stand in our truth, and understand the ignorance that we went through, and you know, we are all subjected to the nonsense because of ignorance. Just to recognize that. I mean, that's a big up on I believe in him. To even recognize the things that, you know, we need to start doing in order to fix ourselves and fix our community. You know, so
I know we were trying to get Clarence in. I know he's battling the internet issues. I'm looking forward to having, you know, him add his perspective into the story. Will, you know, to look face to face, and you said there's rules of engagement,
right?
You know, and you just kind of know what that is. If you understand that landscape and you've been a part of that landscape, I can only imagine what you felt in that barbershop at that moment. Did it empower you from that point though? Because it almost seems like that's one of those spaces where, you know, it can either break you in recognizing just how much damage was done, or it can help to propel the desire to really drive change. Like, hey, now these families have the opportunity to come together and do something for the broader space. Where were you in that moment when you looked into his eyes and he was looking into yours?
Well, when I looked into his eyes, basically I was in the moment of being sure that he was sincere with his words, you know. So being an introvert as a kid growing up, I always was a reader of people. I mean, and I wanted to make sure I was reading the right message through his body language and also through his tone, you know. And when he said it, you know, I just looked at him for a moment, you know, and I was like, yeah, I mean, it was believable, you know. So I was like, you know, thank you. I mean, that's the only words that come to my mind at that particular time, because I know how much strength that it took for him to even do that. I mean, especially, you know, like I said, especially going on with, you know, the street code and the what people were maybe saying on the street to him, you know, the Will walking around, this guy walking around, your brother's going, so all the things he had to deal with, all the peer pressure he had to deal with too, you know, even to confront me, I mean, in a manner like that. I mean, and knowing that, you know, he came prepared either way, like he said, he came for either way it can go, you know, because he didn't know how I would respond to it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know how I was going to react to it, you know. So the thing was that we were both in a space where as though we were ready to accept our true self, basically, right? You know, and accept this mission that we want.
So here's what's interesting. You know, we're here in this moment, but we're prepared for it to go either way.
Right.
If you don't understand that, you'll get that on the ride home, or call somebody and ask what that translation means. But no matter which way, we're prepared. I want to talk, give you something from Akit Monique, who is on our Facebook feed. I wrote a letter to the man who killed my son's father. He wrote back to my surprise, thanking me for the opportunity to apologize. This was 20 years ago after he murdered him. People are people.
Right.
Change is possible. Keep serving, bro. I applaud your boldness to accept responsibility. As Dr. McPherson. You know, it seems to me, Will, that this conversation is the one that's missing in all the press conferences. It's great to talk about solutions. It's great to talk about what the feds are going to do and come down. But the feds can't talk to the block better than the block can.
Right.
It's just what it is. Nobody's looking at the three-letter boys as the mediator for what's been ingrained in our culture for years. And so for those electeds who see sometimes these situations as opportunities to platform as opposed to progress, what do you need our electeds and those who are in position to provide resources for these conversations? What do you need them to hear and know?
Well, we need to create the conversations. We need to put in place situations where as though people can come out and really get the information they need. You know, a lot of times we're promoting a lot of the negative stuff that's going on. I mean, every time there's a violent act or somebody lose their life, the media is right there. Every time there's a rally to complain about what the DA is doing or what the police is doing, the media is right there. But when the work is being done on the streets and in these programs, the media is not present, right? So if they're not present, they're not promoting what is actually being done in the community that is working, then the young people who are seeking advice, seeking help, seeking direction, they don't know where to go, right? So you have the culture of violence that's being created through all streams, of media. Yeah. I mean, social media and TV platforms. And so therefore, this becomes a culture. This becomes, violence okay, a person shot this person, shot that person, and I'm getting into an argument or altercation, then this is my automatic response because this is the thing I think I'm supposed to be doing.
So is much of this peer pressure? Because for those who are insulated from the day-to-day activities that happen in some of our neighborhoods, whether they've moved out or they just haven't experienced it or know, is this a peer pressure thing? Is this just a survival thing? Is this just an ingrained message that keeps being reinforced by the media, or is it a mix of all of it coming together to create this conundrum?
Right, it's a mix of all of it. It's a mix of all of it. I mean, we become a product of our environment, because we're influenced by the 5 major influences, which is one of the things I teach. I mean, and if someone is programming your mind constantly, I mean, subliminally or directly, then this is how we respond. We learn. We're people who respond to life. We don't really take charge of life. We react to life. I mean, so when we stop reacting to life and start taking charge of life, then we can change the narrative. We can control the narrative.
Stop reacting to life and taking charge of life. There's a quote that says, "Life is 90%, 90%, no, 10% what happens to you, 90% how you respond."
Right.
And to your point, it's that direction, it's that charge. I want to try and bring in Brother Clarence. Can you hear us, Brother Abdul? I think he might still be having challenges in his space. Oh, you can hear us.
Yeah, I think you can hear us.
Oh, I'm
there you
here.
Go.
My brother, I know you are fighting with the internet to get on. I wanted to make sure that we had this space to welcome you and tell you how much we love you and appreciate you for the work that you're doing in this space. And I also want you to give your perspective to this opportunity that has occurred between yourself and Will to make change for our people. I think we just lost him again. And it's okay. Broadcast audience, I know you guys want to hear his story. And so I'll commit, as I know that the team will as well, to having this dialogue again, even if we have to bring Brother Abdul into the studio. We'll do that so that we can have this dialogue, because I really want you to know how committed these two brothers are, not just to the reconciliation process amongst themselves, but to the city as a whole. Will, look, guns are never going to leave the streets. I'm sorry. I know there are some that are hoping that we will just have this utopic demolition man world where, guns are just removed and everybody's singing lullabies. It's not how it works, because there are forces at play that want to see guns in our young folks' hands. They want and need for folk to get sent upstate for charges. There are people that profit off of our demise, period. Right. And so understanding that harsh reality, what are some of the things that we can do to support the work that you're doing, Will, beyond just tweeting it and reposting. That's one thing. But, you know, you have an engine that you're building that needs resources. It needs support. It needs additional moving parts. How do we get engaged?
Well, hopefully, I mean, what we're trying to do, me and Qaadir, is trying to spread our message of forgiveness is freedom throughout the communities, out the country, especially targeting younger men and women who are caught up in the mix of that, of hurt and that pain that they're going through and dealing with. Because we know, especially in the city of Philadelphia, most of the homicides here are revenge murders, you know, and that's the only way people know how to deal with whatever trauma they're dealing with, they're facing, or the loss of a loved one. So our message is to stand up and show young men and women that there are other ways to solve disputes. I mean, even serious ones just like this, whereas though that you become out a winner regardless of what. I mean, now forgiveness is many layers to forgiveness, you know, especially the first layer, which is forgiveness for yourself. Right. And that's one thing we always try to talk about, forgiveness for yourself first. I mean, so you'll be able to detach yourself from that pain, from that hurt, from that trauma that is affecting you mentally, emotionally, and physically. And that's what Qaadir always alludes to when he shared his story, his journey through his healing and his forgiveness process, you know, and that's some of the things we need to talk about. We just had a session, me and Qaadir just had a class about 2 weeks ago with a group of young adults who were, you know, sitting there. We had this Q&A talking about our journey through, you know, forgiveness and transformation and redemption. And some of the questions that came about, you know, was very powerful questions on of the howness of how you do that, and actually explaining who was it for. But at the same time, people start to see the things they were dealing with, and the level of forgiveness. It was minute compared to, you know, our experience and what we have done. I mean, and they say, well, someone made vows, you know, I vow to you guys that I'm going to forgive so and so and so and so. I'm going to forgive this person in my family. I'm going to forgive this person that did this to me. I'm going to forgive my father. I'm going to forgive my mother. So this is the kind of response we're trying to get out the community. It may be somebody who just lost a loved one, but just people in general know that they need that forgiveness right there in order for them to continue on with their life and let go. You know, so the message of forgiveness is freedom. It's actually just freeing yourself. You can't drink poison expecting someone else to die. You know, and that is our message. I mean, so that's what a lot of people are doing. So with me teaching emotional intelligence in this community who are not really familiar with the principles of emotional intelligence, because a lot of people have been traumatized, been impacted by trauma in their life, and they're still suffering and dealing with it. One of the things right now, I'm doing a training for PAN, Philadelphia Anti-Violence, Anti-Drug Network. And they're the people who provide services for individuals out here who are impacted by trauma or violence. Right. But also they're impacted because the simple fact they're dealing with people like that. I mean, because energy transcends. So I have to really, you know, train them personally and professionally on how to actually cope with that, deal with that, detox from that, heal from it, and also deal with their own personal problems, but at the same time, be a good service to the community who actually need this kind of services. You know, so that's one thing I specialize in with helping people transform their mindset and their emotions and their healing. Like you said, not going to stop the guns from coming or selling the guns in our area is a powerful force, but I haven't picked up a gun in years since I've been home from prison. And I was a person who loved guns. I had 4 or 5 guns in my house, you know, but it's the mentality that I changed. This is my number one weapon right here, my mindset.
Wow.
Okay?
You know,
my intelligence, my weapon.
There's one space and lane of conversation that we need to have with those who believe in the concept, who are pushing for reconciliation, restoration in our communities, those who understand quality of life and its impact economically and spiritually and emotionally. Brother Rande McClain was shot in the head. The brother who was just on, shot in the head by another, you know, individual, changed his life. You know, and he had the same conversation. Look, it's about forgiveness. I want to meet that person so that I can forgive them and kind of close my loop and move forward, but then hopefully get them to amplify a message of forgiveness and nonviolence to their crew. Because it's normally not just one, right? We roll with those of like mind.
Right.
What would you say to those who, they're probably not listening now? If you are, I love you and appreciate you for it. But those who are putting in the work, those who are on the streets right now, because we all know somebody who's doing some work. Let's just be honest. We ain't gonna act like we're all Little House on the Prairie. Everybody knows somebody who's caught up in the mix. And if there was a message that we could broadcast through that person that they could give to their loved one, what would you say?
Well, I'll say this, right? There's a moment when everybody wants peace. There's a moment when everybody wants peace in their life, regardless. I don't care if you got on the street, you're a thug, you're a hustler. I mean, everybody really want peace. That's something we're on the pursuit of. And the fact that you have young men out there, like even me and Qaadir, when we was in the front page of Daily News, or when the Fox News did the documentary on us, we had men calling us, reaching out. Why? Because they were on the fence. They were on the fence about getting revenge. You know what I'm saying? They were on the fence about, someone took my brother or my sister life and I'm going to meet this dude or this guy about to come home. I've been thinking about this for years. What do I do? So those individuals right there, that's the individuals we're trying to send our message to, because they're on the fence right now. Right. And hopefully that they can reach out to us and we can reach out to them. We can try to coach them off the fence and going in the right direction, doing the right thing. Because we understand the streets are undefeated. Indeed. Can't beat the streets. It's undefeated. So when you man up and stand in your truth, regardless of what, of course we go through pain, we go through hurt and stuff like that. But just the cycle of pain will continue if we continue to doing the same thing over and over again. Right. So we're trying to stop that cycle of pain and start the cycle of healing. Understand that you're a true man. You're not a coward or a chump. Qaadir is not a coward or a chump because he forgave me, taking his brother's life. He's actually a grown man. He's a real man. You know what I'm saying? And I respect him as such.
Indeed.
So everybody who is in that arena as men, they respect him as such. So the people out on the street, they really want to get to that level. They really want to be real men. They really want to be out of the street, out the game. Yeah. Because when we was young, we was the same way. We just caught up in the whirlwind. We wanted to be out of it. Right? But we thought that was the only thing that was offered to us. Yeah. When you have mentors and you have men who actually experienced those things and who got through those things, who are now winning in life, I want to be where you at. How do I get there?
How do I ascend, man, and take my family there? Kevin Gee, who's on our Facebook live feed, shout out to brother Kevin Gee. He says, look, the streets are undefeated. That's a whole word. I need y'all to understand those who really appreciate the words that Will just spoke. You get it. But if by chance you don't, speak to a brother like Will, brother like Kevin, who can help you understand just how undefeated the streets are in every category. It does not miss. I don't care what lane you're talking about. The streets remain undefeated. And that's just the way that it is. But it's brothers like Will Little, brothers like Abdul, Qaadir, who are doing the work to show you by example, not just by explanation, how to reconcile, how to restore and heal. What's next? I mean, obviously this work can go on for years because we have much to uncover. There's many layers in our community, right? And I know you're committed to that. But I know that the Creator has also given you an expanded mindset and vision around this. You are truly one of our leaders in this space. And so when we talk about conflict resolution, when we talk about emotional intelligence and Black men health, where do you see our mission mindset? Where should we be, and how do we come behind you to either advocate for change and resources for you to make those moves or support those current efforts?
Just give us your platform. Give us a platform to speak, to share our message, to share information. Right now, we have something set up, man, Qaadir, May 20th. May 20th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Grand Yesha Ballroom, 2308. We're having this talk again. We're having this conversation again together. Freedom, forgiveness is freedom. And it's open. It's an open door for everyone to come out, come through, to really get some information, some knowledge, maybe some healing. And some direction, and we need to set this up all over the city. And throughout the country, in places where as though we know this kind of information is needed. So a lot of people really want help. They just don't know where the resources are. They don't know where the information is at. And I know that from doing this work for 20 years, being a community activist, and just continue to grow and level up and add more value to myself. Also traveling the country. Traveling the country and speaking in different lands and places in California and stuff like that, knowing that there are people who really, really truly want help. I mean, and the fact that I know they want that and need it, I mean, I'm trying to provide the space for them. I'm trying to provide the right messaging for them. And that's what the city really need to get behind, the right messaging, and share a picture of me and Qaadir, holding hands, shaking hands, put that on billboards around the city. So people can actually see that image of, you know, true men standing up, saying their truth and moving forward in life, as opposed to being stuck where we were, you know. And that's the message we're trying to give, and continue to have messages, continue to have classes. I mean, I'll tell you this, I get calls every day as a life coach. I get calls every day from young men too, women, older men, younger men, say, look, well, I need a one-on-one, right? Some immediately, like I need it right now. I mean, they're in dire need of a conversation, of a talk, of direction, you know, and I provide that space for them to sit down and talk to them and help them navigate through whatever trials and tribulations they're dealing with, because we're a trauma-impacted community, you know. And the only way we're going to stop the violence is we start the healing. You know, we got to start the healing. That's what the community needs. It needs healing. I mean, all these programs and jobs and stuff like that, yeah, we need that too. But we need the healing, right? Because what's going on internally is being projected externally, and that's why we see it in those many layers. We see it in the community. And one of the analogies I gave to, I broke down an analogy to dealing with the problems in the city of Philadelphia or anywhere. I say we have many problems and say there's only one solution. There's not one solution. There's many solutions. But I'm saying, in my vision, to understand that there's only one problem and there could be one solution to. Now, if I look at a tree and I see many branches, and all those branches, it has homicide, it has suicide, it has drugs, it has unemployment, it has all these other different branches there, right? We're looking at the branches, looking at the surface of what is actually being produced. But what is producing it? It is the root and the soil. So if we deal with the root of the problem, which is people's feelings, feelings create action.
Indeed.
As feelings create emotion. So feelings create emotion, emotion creates action. That is what's manifesting. You know what I'm saying? So how do we fix what's manifesting? If we fix what's in the mind, we fix what's in the heart, then we can manifest better fruit.
Man, I'm smiling because that is everything that Heart City was created on. One of the reasons why we called it Heart of the City, because if you don't change the heart issues, nothing else matters. We can talk all day about education. You can fund that. That's great. You just have an educated, broken person. If you empower them with a job, as you said, okay, great. I got money, but now I'm empowered, but broken. At the end of the day, we've got to get to the root, and it's the heart. And that's something I am so excited, man, to hear you say that and focus on that point, because so many organizations, and I'm not picking on them, I'm just saying there's an opportunity for us to refine the mission mandate. It's not just providing the resource. It's good to bring brothers around a good meal and good conversation, but unless we're addressing the mental health, unless we're addressing that emotional intelligence you talked about, they're bound to repeat some of these same challenges, man. So look, I need you to know, on behalf of the Heart City family and the broadcast audience, brother, we love you and brother Qaadir for the great work that y'all are doing. Man to man, we support you. This work is, you know, truly entrusted to you by the Creator. It's very clear that he put you and Qaadir on this mission. And so it's our job to stand behind it and support in whatever way we can. I'm going to remain committed to that and work with you to try to continue to uncover ways for us to work together.
Right. I appreciate that.
Last time before we rest this interview, please give the broadcast audience ways to connect with you and the organization. I know May 20th, I believe, is that event as well. Let's put that back out in the atmosphere to let them know where to go to actually research and support and show up in attendance.
Okay, yeah, that would be at the Grand Geisha Ballroom, 2308 Snyder Avenue, right in South Philadelphia, off of 76 exit on 76, going east to west. And that's a Thursday night, so make sure you guys prepare for that Thursday night. And if you bring a pen and pad too as well, we will actually give you some direction on some things you can do that kind of immediately have effect on your transformation, or your growth, or your healing within that whole 3-hour session. Also, we also have a GoFundMe for our RFP. This is our organization called RFP, Redemption, Forgiveness, Peace. We started that 6 years ago. When we're doing mentoring with youth in the barbershops, now we actually have a building that we're trying to rehab to actually start that work all over again with me and Qaadir, with young men and women in the community to come out and get trainings, get mentored for 6 days a week throughout the hours of the day, 12 hours a day. Hopefully we can get that running by the summertime and get that up. We're looking to raise like $100,000 to start the rehab in the building, the materials and things of that nature, and get it open up. And just have some resources for individuals who need that help and want to come out to a place where they can connect, they can relate, and they can get the information they need. So that's on our GoFundMe page as well. You can find it on my page, my Facebook page, Will Latif Little, or Will Little page. I have 2 Facebook pages in case you run into them. I also have an Instagram page. My Instagram page is Latif, LATIF_MUHSIN. If you want to follow me on there too as well. And that's what we have going on right now. We have we have another project going on too, me and Qaadir, but we're going to keep that under the wraps.
I got it. I understand there's a little secret sauce in there.
Secret sauce. That's a major project. It's going to be beautiful too. I mean, it's going to be beautiful when everything comes to fruition. So we are working on some things, but we also know that we need to really help our community. So we are trying to push this information out there, push this message across the city council, the mayor. I mean, all those guys get behind us, and violence prevention get behind us, so we can actually share this message to help those people who may be on the fence about violence or just having a hard time dealing with forgiveness and stuff like that.
So broadcast audience, understand Brother Will Little and Abdul Qaadir are doing tremendous work in the space. Real-time examples, real life examples of redemption, healing, and forgiveness. We've got to get out of the press conference conversation and get those who have actually gone through it in front of those we want to never have to go through these challenges. That's the solution. When we talk about mentorship, there's one thing to talk about mentorship and elevating ourselves in our career. We want someone who's gone before us, who understands the landscape, right? To tell us how to navigate the landscape. We have to do it in the same way when we deal with the issues of our community. If you don't understand it, if you can't translate it, get out the way so we can get brothers in the space who know what they're doing to make the impact. Will Little is one such individual. Abdul Qaadir is one such individual. We're going to make sure that we post all of their information on our social media pages. We're going to support them. 2308 Snyder Avenue, May 20th. Please make sure you're in attendance. If not, I'm sure there'll be some social media around that, maybe some live feeds so that you can check it out. Nonetheless, that's not just a one and done event. They are working all throughout the city and the country to do this work of healing and emotional intelligence. If you know a young person that needs to be there, get them there.
Right.
Get them there. You can reach out to us. Join us at HeartCityRadio.com. We'll take that email address and whatever you send in terms of support or requests, we'll try and get that to Will and his team as well to help support you and connect you with these resources. We can make a difference. Changing the world, it's a process, but it begins one life at a time.
Right.
One life at a time. And one decision at a time can change that life for good. My brother Will, thank you, man, for standing in the gap for our brother Abdul Qaadir. Please give him love as well. Let him know we love him and honor him equally as well and support the great work that both of you are doing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I sure will.
Yes, sir. So how do we change the world? There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of challenges we face. There's a lot of solutions we all need. Nonetheless, it's one decision at a time, making one choice at a time, changing one life at a time. That's all we've talked about at Heart City since its inception. We started broadcast radio, and I'll be honest, we laugh about this behind closed doors as a Heart City team. I was scared to death 4 years ago. I'll be honest. I had no idea what I was going to say when that microphone became hot, so to speak. 60 minutes, and I couldn't figure out what would be of impact to our community. I know there were some things needed, but I needed God to guide 4 years later, between 2-hour shows, expanding shows, promoting other shows, creating shows, and placing them on other dials, we're now in a very much different space because the Creator has blessed this journey. May we as a team never forget that it was never about us. Never about us. And so I am excited to shift and begin the additional work, the next phase of Heart City, as we welcome Kendall Chase to the host chair. I can tell you without a doubt, she loves her community. She loves her people. Her willingness to work and support you. And we've gone through, I'll be honest, we've gone through an exhausting search. 2 years we've searched for the right guest, for the right host. And when we got to that host search, we were very clear. We wanted someone who loved God. Doesn't mean that you're perfect, but that you love God and you're willing to call him by his name. You're willing to honor him for who he is in your life. We were never going to get rid of prayer. In the beginning of our show, we are unapologetic about praying first and praying always. But also understanding that faith without works is dead. And so we wanted someone who understood that once we got up from the prayer, that we were empowered to do some work, to actually get out and engage the community and get behind those who are already in the community to do that work. Kendall Chase has done that, whether in Philadelphia, North Carolina, or around the country where she has been planted. And so I fully trust Kendall Chase with the host chair of this show and this brand. I am excited to see the levels of engagement that you will bring to Heart City as she commands that chair. I am excited to see the levels of work that we will do in the community as she commands the chair. Know that all of what we have been able to do is empowered through you. We could have never done this work over the last 4 years, from ambassadors and administrations down to locals, everyday heroes. It all came through your support. You are just as much a part of this family as we are. Heart City is our collective brand. I'm anxious to tell you about some of the work that we're doing. I got to be honest, I have to hold it close to the vest as well, but just know that we are so excited about this next phase, and it is purpose-driven work, and there will be tons of ways for you to get involved in all of our new phases. But there's still one key thing that I need you to do: support. And the way that you do that is really simple. You can subscribe through our YouTube channel, become a part of the Heart City family. All you got to do is click that link for subscription. You'll get updates and notifications and bonus content. And if you click the little bell, you'll get the notifications of when we're live next. And as I said before, Kendall Chase, she joins us in the host chair starting May 5th. This next week. And so as you begin to see all of our promotions, support her, tag her, let her know that you are behind her, repost it, share with others. Let's get these numbers up and let the world know that we're behind Black women who are on the move. We are behind those who are willing to tell the true media narrative, even at the cost of losing major sponsorships, even at the cost of not having the behemoth media networks behind it. Telling our story the right way is always the priority. Making sure that our narrative is properly told must always be our priority. Because if we don't, history will only go to the individual who has the pen in their hand. And we have a rich history. one that should be celebrated at every turn, one that should be told to our children at every turn, a platform and foundation by which our children, our community should be able to stand proudly on and excel and take our community to the next level. Thank you so much for all that you have done in supporting us, and we look forward to another great 4 years of working with you to highlight the very best that you are. You can find us on social media. Follow us, subscribe to us, tweet us, send us messages. All of our social media is real simple. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find us at HeartCity TV. And as always, feel beautiful, look beautiful, and act beautiful. Why? Because you truly are beautiful. I'm Malik Boyd. Thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. This will always be our home.